Good morning, friends. Happy Working Wednesday. Thanks for dealing with the issues yesterday with the Tuesday video. I had some clips from Lego Masters that were blocked, and I needed to change up the video for you. So hopefully you've been able to watch that and seen some of the examples that I've tried to provide for a list of materials. So far, you should have been able to set your plan for your bridge and your materials aside. Today is the building day. If you weren't able to watch that video, go back and watch it. It's fairly short, and collect your materials so that you can build today. Either way, you haven't lost a day, just a little bit of time for prepping materials. Now that you have your materials set aside, you'll see I have mine in the back. I'd like to go through the process that you need to think about as you're doing your work today. So all of us have different materials. So it really has to become your plan as the engineer and designer. So what is your overall goal? What is it that you want to do? Do you want to have the most weight on top of your structure? Do you want your structure to be the longest that it can be? Do you want it to do something else in terms of, do you want the design to be something in particular that you want overall aesthetic to be pleasing? Whatever it is that your goal is for your design, you need to state that as you're sharing your reflection of your build. I would hope that you can take a picture of your build today. If you can't, please provide a sketch or a very descriptive detail about what you did in your process. I'm going to show you in the background some of my plans so that it can get you thinking about your own thinking for your build. But I do want people sharing either pictures, very detailed paragraph explanation about what you did, your goal, and the outcome, or even just a sketch but still a reflection of the work that you've done. This is a design process, so I'd like you to be thinking through in terms of making sure that you've thought about truss or beam structures and thinking about geometric shapes that might be helpful for your structure. So I'm going to head into the back and do some building. I'll do a little bit of narrative and then you'll see me do some build, but I'm going to have many different options for you. I'm first going to start with what your choice is for your structure on top, okay? So the structure on top that will make your bridge. Now I chose this because it's flimsy, and so I want it to have a rigid structure. I just took some flexible cardboard as one of my main structures that will be on the top of the bridge. And maybe you just want to take a notebook or a piece of paper and see if you could get that to be supported somehow. So once you have the top of your bridge figured out, maybe you need to figure out the width or the span that you're working towards. So one of the spans that I'm working towards is working across. Another one that I might be working towards is working from setting my own posts. So I'm going to do some work, share with you what the goal was of my process, what my outcome was, and what I used for my design elements. And so you need to be thinking about my examples and what you do. So you see me working for a bit of time. I'm going to go through some of my thinking with you as you've seen some of the work in Fast Forward. So what I've done here is first I wanted to have this span for the top of my bridge. It was uneven, so I needed to build up like a pillar in the beginning of my bridge. So that is 2 macaroni boxes and 6 cans of tuna split evenly. So I'm happy with how even it was, but again, this was a very flimsy top surface for my top beam. And so as I looked at it, I knew I needed to have some type of beams underneath to support the span of the bridge. Now, I'm having to figure out different height values because I didn't want it to bend too much. So I used a Pringles can as a beam, but I needed extra height. So I did a tuna can and also a Lego base. And so now there's no room in between my beam to the span of the bridge. That will help me as I try to put additional weight on. For this, you saw me mess around with Legos. I thought that I should build some type of casing to keep this standing up, but I found that by filling it up and by jamming in Legos, this is now really secure and pretty heavily weighted. I then needed to adjust the height, so I took some tape, folded over my towel roll, and now it really does sit quite sturdy. Now, if I was being very reflective of my improvements for the future, if this was a beam bridge, the reason those beams are spread the way they are is so that sailboats and larger vessels can get through. So currently I have no access or no way to make this a drawbridge. And so I would hope that I can somehow engineer more distance in the middle moving forward. However, I'm going to test my first prototype that I've created with the span. What is this? Oops. Maybe 3.5 feet. So here's one weight. This is 15 pounds. So it's pretty good, but it's bowing a little bit of my beams, and this pulled as it took new weight. I'm gonna use some cans of soup. These are probably like 2-3 pounds piece. So everything's slanting in this direction. And then this filled with its batteries is maybe another 2 or 3 pounds. So that is about 20 pounds there. And I'm very happy with this. However, I need to make some improvements moving forward. Now, at this time, you would take a picture of your bridge and you'd go through some of the things that I discussed with you before, talking about the piers or the beams that you're setting up, the length of span that you decided on, what you used as beams and some of the modifications you needed to make along the way, what weight you chose, and how you need to make adjustments moving forward. As in the design process, today was our build, tomorrow our improvements. So this was one design I wanted to show you. What am I going to use in between? I think I'm going to make my bridge all on my own. So I think I'm going to start with macaroni. Macaroni. Okay. Okay. So I've used all of the previous beams and the recycling that I already had with me. So this is just a completely recyclable built bridge. So just a different goal. So I'm still going to work with my weights, but I'm going to be really careful as I add them on. So I'm not going to start with the 15 pounds until I first start with the cans of soup. Pretty good. Let's try my lantern. Here's my 15 pounds. All right, so I gave you two examples of work that you could be doing to share for your design project about building a bridge. Make sure you share your materials that you've collected. Make sure you share what you did with your goal. Maybe take a picture and tell me the work that you did in your actual building. Be prepared that we're going to make some changes tomorrow for our designs, but make sure you're putting something on the Schoology post that shares the plan that you made, the work that you did, the materials you used, and your goals and outcomes. Thanks, friends.